How Billionaires Think. The Mental Secret That Multiplies Fortunes. The secret mindset that separates rich from poor. There's a billionaire who buys entire companies just to fire the founders on the same day. He doesn't do this out of cruelty, he does it for strategy. And his secret will shock you, because it goes against everything you've been taught about success. When you see a billionaire making decisions that seem insane, there's something you're missing. He doesn't give a damn what you think. While you're losing sleep worrying about your boss's opinion, he's buying your boss's company. The difference isn't luck. It's not inheritance. It's not connections. It's something much darker and more powerful. Society programmed you to be an emotional slave. They taught you that caring is virtue, that empathy is strength, that validation is necessary. Bullshit. That's the system keeping you small, predictable, and controllable. Real power comes from strategic indifference, the ability to turn off your emotions when necessary to make decisions others never could. Think about Jeff Bezos laying off thousands during the pandemic while his fortune grew by billions. Cruel? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. He understood something most people never will. In the power game, whoever cares too much loses. Your emotions are your shackles. Your need for approval is your prison. The wealth master operates like a surgeon. He doesn't let emotion contaminate his decisions. When he needs to cut, he cuts. When he needs to advance, he advances. When he needs to destroy, he destroys. No drama, no guilt, no hesitation. It's this calculated coldness that separates the rich from the poor, the powerful from the weak. The law of indifference isn't about being inhuman, it's about being strategic. It's about recognizing that in the real world, whoever controls their emotions controls the outcome. While you're wrestling with anxiety over one decision, your competitor has already executed 3 and is reaping the profits. Here's the brutal truth about American capitalism. It rewards the ruthless, not the righteous. The market doesn't care about your feelings, your struggles, or your good intentions. It only responds to results, and results come from cold, calculated decisions made without the fog of emotion clouding your judgment. Wall Street legends like Carl Icahn didn't build empires by being nice. They built them by being indifferent to everything except profit. When Icahn takes over a company, he doesn't care about employee feelings, legacy, or tradition. He cares about shareholder value. Period. That's why he's worth $17 billion while others are still hoping for their big break. Here's an exercise that will change your life. Identify something you desperately want: approval, a relationship, an opportunity. For the next 3 days, act like you don't need it. Don't chase, don't beg, don't show neediness. Watch how the world starts treating you differently. That's the magic of strategic indifference. Real power doesn't come from having everything, it comes from needing nothing. When you free yourself from the need for external validation, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is pure power. If you want to discover the other 3 dark secrets that separate the rich from the poor, drop power in the comments right now. But warning, what's coming next will destroy everything you believe about success. Only continue if you're ready for the brutal truth about how the world really works. The ice-cold mentality that creates millionaires. Warren Buffett once said he'd invest in a company even if he knew all the employees would die tomorrow. Shocking? Yes. Profitable. Billions of dollars prove it is. This glacial mindset is what separates masters from slaves. Society sold you a deadly lie, that showing emotions is authenticity, that reacting is natural, that caring is human. But observe the real predators of success. They operate on a completely different frequency. While you explode with anger in an argument, they're calculating how to use your explosion against you. Indifference isn't the absence of emotion, it's mastery over it. It's the difference between being the player and being played. When you master the art of not reacting, you force others to reveal their cards first. Your calm becomes a black mirror where others' insecurities reflect back, amplified. Imagine being in $1 million negotiation. The amateur shows anxiety, urgency, need. Their micro expressions scream desperation. But the master? He leans back in his chair, observes in silence, lets the discomfort grow. Silence becomes his weapon. Patience, his power. Indifference, his victory. Steve Jobs was famous for firing people in elevators. No explanation, no emotion. Cruel to the weak, yes. Effective? Apple became the world's most valuable company. He understood that at the top, there's no room for feelings that don't generate results. Compassion is a luxury winners rarely can afford. Strategic coldness creates an aura of mystery and power. People will try to provoke you to break your mask, to make you react. Every test you pass without reacting adds another layer to your reputation as unshakable. And reputations like that open doors that would remain closed to the emotionally unstable. In American business culture, the ability to stay cool under pressure isn't just respected, it's worshipped. Think about every successful CEO during a crisis. They don't panic. They don't break down. They don't show fear. They become ice cold, problem-solving machines. That's why they're leading billion-dollar companies while others are still climbing the ladder. The Navy SEALs have a saying, stay calm and carry on. Under the most extreme pressure, when lives are at stake, emotion is the enemy. The operators who survive and succeed are those who can detach emotionally while remaining tactically sharp. This same principle applies to the battlefield of business and wealth creation. Here's your elite training for the next week. When someone tries to provoke, offend, or irritate you, practice the zero response. Don't smile. Don't frown. Don't fight back. Be a perfectly smooth mirror. Watch how the person desperately tries to get a reaction. Feel the power of controlling the situation through your absence of response. Well-executed indifference isn't coldness, it's absolute control. It's the ability to choose when and how to feel, instead of being a slave to every emotional stimulus that crosses your path. Want to discover how to turn your indifference into a money-making machine? Type coldness in the comments and prepare to learn the darkest technique of millionaires. But be careful once you see how the game really works. There's no going back. Only continue if you're ready to play at the master's level. How to turn coldness into a money-making machine. Elon Musk broke the internet with a single tweet. Use Signal. No explanation. No justification. No begging. Result? Signal gained millions of users in 24 hours. This wasn't coincidence, this was the cruel application of the law of emotional scarcity. In the business world, scarcity creates value. Diamonds are precious because they're rare. Bitcoin exploded because the supply is limited. But there's an even more powerful scarcity. The scarcity of your attention, your energy, your emotions. And when you master this law, you become irresistibly valuable. The amateur distributes his energy like flyers on the street. Worries about everything, acts to everything. Has opinions about everything. Result? His attention is worth zero. His opinions are disposable. His presence is ignored. But the master? He's selective to the point of cruelty. His words are heavy as gold because they're rare as diamonds. Think about how dating works for millionaires. They don't chase. Don't beg, don't show neediness. Their indifference creates a psychological vacuum that sucks people toward them. The less emotionally available they are, the more desired they become. This is the cruel mathematics of human value. The law of emotional scarcity works because it touches the primitive fear of rejection. When you're not emotionally available, people interpret this as superior value. If he doesn't need my approval, he must have something I don't have. And this perception transforms into real, tangible, monetizable power. Mark Cuban is famous for ignoring 99% of the pitches he receives. Not out of arrogance, but strategy. His attention has become so scarce that when he finally grants it, the perceived value explodes. Entrepreneurs pay millions just for the chance to present to him. Artificial scarcity? Maybe. Profitable? Absolutely. In Silicon Valley, the most successful venture capitalists are known for being almost impossible to reach. They don't return calls immediately. They don't attend every meeting. They don't give feedback to everyone. This artificial scarcity of their attention makes entrepreneurs value their time more, pitch better, and offer better deals when they finally get access. The psychology behind this is brutal but effective. Humans are wired to want what they can't have. When you make your emotional energy scarce, you trigger this deep psychological programming. People start chasing your approval, your attention, your presence. What was once free becomes premium. Here's how to apply this immediately. Identify where you're giving your emotional energy away for free. Maybe it's responding to every message instantly. Maybe it's reacting to every provocation. Maybe it's always being available for everyone. Cut 80% of that. Create artificial scarcity of your emotional presence. The magic happens when people realize they can no longer count on your automatic reactions. They start valuing your moments of attention more. Your yes becomes an event. Your opinions, truths. Your presence, a gift. Ready to learn the final technique that transforms this coldness into an unstoppable success machine? Comment scarcity and discover the method billionaires use to dominate any situation. Warning: this goes against everything you've been taught about relationships and business. Only continue if you're prepared for total transformation. The billionaire method to dominate any situation. There's a billionaire who never smiles in public, never explains his decisions, and never justifies his actions. He's hated by millions but controls empires. His net worth? Impossible to calculate because he's transcended money. He became pure power. And today, you discover how. If you've made it this far, your mind is no longer that of a common civilian. You understand that indifference is power, that coldness is strategy, that emotional scarcity is value. Now comes the most dangerous part. Uniting all of this into a protocol that makes you an unstoppable force of nature. The killer protocol isn't about being cruel, it's about being effective. It's about operating at a level where emotions are tools, not masters. Where every word is calculated, every silence is intentional, every move has purpose. You become a perfect predator in the power ecosystem. Think about how a grandmaster chess player operates. He doesn't get emotional about losing a piece, doesn't celebrate a minor capture, doesn't despair under pressure. His mind works 10 moves ahead, where every current sacrifice is an investment in future victory. This is your new operational mindset. Implementation begins with the master's ritual, 5 minutes every morning where you program your mind for the daily battle. First minute, visualize yourself operating with absolute coldness in today's situations. Second minute, remind yourself of your value through scarcity. You are rare, therefore precious. Third minute, define your one non-negotiable objective for the day. Fourth minute, identify where you can apply strategic indifference. Fifth minute, visualize yourself winning with glacial calm. The real power emerges when you stop reacting and start acting. When you stop responding to provocations and start orchestrating them. When you stop seeking approval and start granting it. Strategically, you become the creator of reality, not its product. In American culture, we worship the self-made man, the individual who rises above circumstances through sheer will and strategy. But what they don't teach you is that the most successful of these individuals shared one common trait: emotional detachment from outcomes. They played to win, not to be liked. Look at any Fortune 500 CEO during a crisis. They don't break down. They don't show weakness. They don't let emotions cloud their judgment. They become ice-cold decision-making machines. This isn't natural, it's trained. It's the result of understanding that at the highest levels, emotion is liability. The final transformation happens when you realize you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Your confidence doesn't come from external validation, but from internal competence. You become a force so stable and unpredictable that people orbit around you, trying to decipher your moves. Remember, the world is full of emotionally unstable, predictable people desperate for validation. They are the majority, but you chose to be different. You chose coldness over chaos, strategy over emotion, power over popularity. Your transformation journey is complete, but the application is just beginning. If this content changed your perspective on power and success, drop master in the comments. Share this video with someone who still believes being nice leads to success. And subscribe because the next video will reveal the forbidden method billionaires use to manipulate entire markets. But warning, this knowledge is dangerous. Use it wisely.